Hello, and thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Tony Pearl, and in this very informative and instructive video tutorial, you're going to learn something really important, and that is how to add the best creative real estate attorney or title company to your dream team. Now, I've got a few goals for this discussion and why it's important for you to join me today, and we have a lot to cover. So let's go ahead and get started with this, and I want to first of all share with you why you want to watch this video and pay attention, because here's what you're going to learn. By the end of this discussion, you're going to be much wiser as to what you need to know to have one of the most vital and essential elements and members of your team on board. Because one of the biggest problems most real estate investors find out about too late in the deal-making process is that they need to have the right attorney as part of their dream team. There's so many horror stories I could share with you that a lot of people have shared, because if you have the wrong one on the team, you'll find out about it. But anyways, what you're also going to learn is how to locate, pre-screen, qualify, and retain the right creative real estate attorney and or title company for buying and selling houses, but specifically for buying houses in this video. Now, there's also going to be a bonus, how to do the same for when you're selling or lease optioning these houses to tenant buyers. Okay? So I'm not just going to show you how to find them, I'm also going to show you what to say and how to say it so that you have the highest likelihood of succeeding. Sound good? So, strap in, get ready. Here we go. Let's go ahead and begin. Let's start with the problem. Building a power team is one of the most important things that you can do, because here's a big warning. Having the wrong person on your team will kill your business, because if they don't understand what you're doing or are constantly challenging everything or always accusing you of doing something illegal or immoral, not to mention fattening, you won't be able to get anything done. Okay? So having the right dream team together is going to help make your life much more productive and easier by allowing you to get more done in less time. All right? So, much like having the wrong life partner can make your personal life challenging, the wrong professional on your team can prevent your business from having success. And one of the most crucial and essential team members on your team is your creative real estate attorney or title company. These are the professionals who will be closing your deals for you. They're going to help you prepare all your documents and paperwork, make sure that you're doing everything legally, and handle 90% of the details that will suck the lifetime and productivity out of you, all for a small fee. And of course, this is the cost of doing business. Yes, you will need to pay them, but believe me, it's a small price to pay for the massive benefits you're going to be receiving. So in other words, finding a qualified creative real estate attorney or title company will either make or break you. And ask me how I know this. Let me share a story with you. Many years ago when I was first getting started, I heard about this fancy title company that was referred to in Bethesda, Maryland, that is. And I had a situation where I was getting ready to close the deal. I brought it to them. They swore up and down they could handle it. And basically they couldn't, because when the time came, they were too confused. They didn't understand what I was trying to do. At the time, I really didn't know how to explain it to them. And I basically found out that I was dealing with the wrong people in the company, that what I should have done was go to the main decision makers, which is the title company owners and or the attorneys who underwrite the title policies and the things that they sign off on to make sure the deals are going to close. Because they weren't creative real estate attorneys, they typically dealt with real estate agents. They weren't the right people to be dealing with, and unfortunately, I lost that deal, and I actually had another deal right on top of that with the same company. And once I realized what was happening here, I was able to pull that deal and move to another title company, use the experience I had with the bad title company, and make that other deal work out well. So I was able to save one deal, but I lost the first deal, and that cost me about $25,000 as I recall. Okay, and I do have other horror stories I could share with you, but I don't want to take up all your time or scare you half to death. Suffice it to say that having the wrong title company or real estate attorney on your team will just kill you. You won't be able to get anything done, and you will lose money. So the solution is, first of all, to let you know, by the way, that finding the right real estate attorney or title company can be a bit of a pain to find the right one, but it is well worth it, and here's how it's done. All right, first thing you want to do is pick your target geographic area, and that's the city or state where you're doing your deals. If you are living in the area where you're doing deals, obviously they should be local to you, and you should easily be able to set up a meeting with them if and when the time comes. If you're dealing with a remote or a virtual area, like if you live in one city and you're doing business in another, you're going to have to handle everything by phone or by video conference call or something of this nature. And that's fine. But we want to also be able to find those companies and attorneys by best way is to find referrals, people who can point us to the right title company or attorney to do business with. And this is ideally other local investors who are doing deals. So how we find these guys, okay, again, we're trying to find other real estate investors who are doing deals, who can share their resources with us by letting us know who they use to close their deals. Now, how we find these other investors, and by the way, don't worry about competition. You can always make competition be a part of your team as well, because you can flip deals back and forth between you guys, between yourselves, okay? So first step is to just Google them, okay? Here's a quick tip. Go on google.com and enter We Buy Houses in the city and state where you're doing deals. For example, We Buy Houses, Atlanta, Georgia. If we just do a Google search on there, and by the way, this is a mind map I'm going to be sharing with you, a link for this, so you'll be able to have access to this here. So, okay, so if you go to that link, We Buy Houses, Atlanta, Georgia, you're going to find all kinds of, oh my gosh, it's just, Atlanta's a very hot area to do real estate business. Plenty of competition, plenty of deals to be done still. So you'll see things over here, and any of these links you'll be able to click on and be able to find people. Of course, these top, where they say ad, obviously those are ads. So you're going to be able to click on those. These are people who pay for these ads. And these are the organic or natural search results that you're going to find. So you can click on any of these. For example, if we just find Express Home Buyers in Atlanta, Georgia, it's a very popular company. And you'll be able to get information. You'll be able to get a phone number. You can call them up and ask them a few questions. All right, here are the questions you're going to ask. Okay. First of all, you can ask, do they actively do deals? Are they legit? A lot of times they'll say they are. And ask them who they do their closings with, who handles the closings. Tell them that you're an investor as well. You're looking for a good referral. Make a list of them. If you're doing deals local to you, another way that you can do that is to go to your local RIA, Real Estate Investor Association, or meetup.com meetings and find out who's doing the deals. Again, it's important to find an investor-friendly attorney, not someone who only does business with agents and typical transactions like that, because, well, we'll explain later. Okay, so find those guys. Chances are good that this attorney will actually be at the event that you go to, like a RIA meeting or a meetup. So they're actively there promoting their business, looking for business. You can talk to them. So you might just get lucky and meet the perfect real estate attorney right there at that event. Okay, that would be fantastic. So another key way to find them is to talk to people, network, ask questions. All right, very simple. All right, let's move on and let's get to the next part, how to find them, how it's done. By the way, Number 3 is get organized. Make a list of all the attorneys' names and phone numbers you collect. Okay, and when I say, by the way, for the purposes of this video, we're going to say real estate attorney and title company. Okay, now some states, I'll be covering this later in the video, some states use attorneys to close everything and some use title companies. But just about every title company I've found also has an attorney on staff or a retainer that they work with who will be looking over everything and making sure that everything is good to go, and then signing off and blessing the transaction. Okay, so you can find someone who is an attorney for a title company and go through them, or you can find a title company and backtrack to find the attorney that way. Okay, but the important thing is that you find the right one who works and does business in your intended market. All right, so a simple way to keep track of these people is to use a simple spreadsheet or take notes on paper, batch all the possibilities together, and then get ready to call them one at a time until you feel you found the right one to work with. You'll be calling them to have a nice, simple, friendly chat to pre-screen them. And the list of questions you're going to be asking is included here in this video, in this mind map, and we'll get to that. All right, of course, be prepared to take notes. And yeah. So basically, you're just going to call them up and ask your magic questions, which again are covered over here. And I just want to tell you, just do it. Have a nice conversation. Like be like an inspector on a fact-finding mission. You're just looking for the right fit. It shouldn't take you long to realize who you can and cannot work with. Okay? And here's a few pro tips for you. All right? The best attorneys or title companies are the ones who invest in real estate themselves. That's pretty big. Okay? Also own their own title company. They're open and flexible to doing and learning more. They don't think that they know everything. They're pleasant to talk to. They don't condescend or call you illegal, the activities that you're doing illegal. They'll understand what it is you're trying to do and be able to guide you the right way. They also communicate well and are responsive. In other words, they're easy to get a hold of, at least someone in their office, and be able to have a good conversation when you need help to get the deals closed. Of course, as I just said, it's important that they understand what it is you're trying to do and can help make it happen without charging you an arm and a leg. Okay? So that's how it's done, and some pro tips for you. That's the problem, that's the solution. Let's go ahead and move on to the important part that I know you're dying to get to, and that is the questions to ask. Okay? Now, there's a lot of stuff in here we got to get to handle this pretty quickly here, but I've provided a complete solution for you. So you may want to watch this a couple times, this video, to make sure that you get all these valuable tips here, because if you do this the wrong way, you're going to kill yourself. It's not going to go well. I'm telling you, if you ask them stupid questions or ask them a question in the wrong way that just aggravates them, you're going to flush yourself right out of the business. Trust me. I've seen it done many times, okay? But if you can ask the same, you can try to find the same information 10 different ways. If you do it the right way, you're going to have a lot easier path. Mess this up and you're just you're in a bad way, okay? So, the start of the call. First thing you want to do, obviously, is just begin by introducing yourself, then stating your intention and establishing an agenda. Make sure you're talking with the right person, because if you're not, get them on the phone with you quickly. You don't want to just talk with an average, no offense to anybody, but an average schmo who answers the phone. Hey, do you work with investors? And they're hungry to get your business. They're going to tell you anything that you want to hear, okay? And again, trust me, I've been through this, all right? So here's a sample script that you can use. And you say, they say, let me do a role play with myself here. Ring, ring, hello? You say, and then your part is, hi, I hope you can help me. My name is Tony Pearl, and I'm a local real estate investor. A friend told me to call you because you work with investors. Is that right? And hopefully they'll say, yes, we do, or no, they don't. If they don't work with investors and you're sure about that, do yourself a favor, and probably is best to hang up the phone and call the next one on your list, okay? If they do work with investors, then just say, I have a few questions I need to talk to someone about. Would you be the right person to talk to about the possibility of doing business together? So either they will be the right one or they won't be, and they'll transfer you to the right person, okay? So once you get the right person, state your intention and establish your agenda, okay? You may have to repeat that if you have to be transferred. And then ask if they can answer a few questions, all right? So are you the right person to talk to about this? Yes, I would be the right one. I'm the title company owner, or I am a real estate attorney, okay? Great. Would you mind if I ask you a few questions to see if we'd be a good fit for each other and can possibly do business together? All right, now, as I've noted here, this is very powerful because it establishes you as being in control, while at the same time it arouses curiosity and demonstrates respect for the person with whom you're talking. And pretty much they always say yes, because you're arousing a little bit of curiosity there, okay? Now, the goal that you have, you're looking for the right attorney or title company that understands what it is that we want to do and has at least some experience doing it and is comfortable doing business with you like this, okay? So if they just don't get it, they're not comfortable, or say that what you're doing is illegal without the right insight or on how it should be done your way, eject. Get out of there and get off the phone. Call the next one on your list. That's why it's important to make a nice list in the beginning so you don't get caught up with one company, okay? Very important. The next part is to qualify them by asking these powerful questions we're about to go over. Let me make room so we have room to cover this. Here's the part you want to wake up and pay attention to. So get ready. All right. Now, first one is, do you work with investors? Okay. This is huge because we'd like to ask this first because it establishes one of the most important factors right away. Are they investor friendly? If they say no and aren't open to working with investors because of whatever reason they throw at you, thank them for the time, get off the phone, and once again, call the next one on your list. Do not waste your time, okay? Just don't do it. They don't want to work with investors. You don't want to work with them, okay? That's fine. Let them do what they do. Don't worry about it. Call them the next one. All right, so if they do work with investors, proceed, okay? Each one of these calls, assume that you're getting yes responses. Each one of these questions, rather, assume that you're getting yes responses and keep on moving to these next questions, okay? The next question you want to ask, another big one. Do you invest in real estate yourself? Okay? Important because if they do, they'll have similar goals as you. And trust me when I tell you, this will be a huge factor. Okay? Let me just, in fact, it's so important, I'm going to make it bold. Do you invest in real estate yourself? Okay? Now, if they do, or they don't. If they do, it's great. Okay, so basically you can ask, what types of real estate deals do you usually close? Listen closely here. Sometimes they'll open up a bit and tell you what you need to know. All right. Obviously, if you've established the fact that you're an investor and you're looking to close investor deals, they should let you know about some examples of investor types of deals that they do. Okay. Then, of course, you want to ask, have you ever done any creative real estate deals? What kind, how recently, and how often? Okay. Another important question because it tells you if you have any commonality with your objectives. All right. Then another important question here. All right. How do you usually like to take title to properties? In an LLC or just kind of trail off? Now, when I say how do you usually like to take title to properties, it could also apply to investors. You could also say, how do you, let me just amend this. Okay, how do you or the investors you work with usually like to take title to properties? Okay, I think that's a better question to ask. Makes more sense, right? All right, so most attorneys and title companies will probably tell you that they advise investors to take title in an LLC. While there are many benefits to that, there are far more benefits to taking title in trust, which we're going to get to in a moment. All right? So don't argue with them. Just ask what they usually do for now and then continue. Okay? Just ask questions. Then you next ask, who usually closes the properties in our state, attorneys or title companies? Okay? In case you don't know this already, you're going to find it out here. Again, as I mentioned before, some states typically use one or the other, and some states use title companies to close, but an attorney to prepare or sign off on certain documents. Other states, like New York, for example, have exclusively attorneys handle any real estate transaction. They make it even more wonderful by having both sides of the transaction be represented by their own attorney. So, some states are a bit harder to do business in this respect than others, but it can still be done. Okay, now, you next want to say, if I have a certain way I'd like to close my deals, and they're a little bit different than what you're used to doing, are you flexible with how we can still do things together as long as everything is still legal and I make it worth your while? Or are you rigid and only do things one way? Of course, this is obviously a way to see how flexible they are with how they get things done. And there should be a lot of people and companies who compete doing this, okay? So the next thing is, are you comfortable doing an assignment of contract? If they ask you to explain, say, well, for example, if I get a property under contract with a seller, then I simply want to assign my contract to someone else for a nominal fee. Is that something you're comfortable doing? This is obviously for when you either get an ugly house under contract and want to wholesale it, or when you want to wholesale a pretty house, okay? Which, like an axe deal, all right? So if you get a property under contract that you want to, it's a pretty house, and you just line up a tenant buyer, and you're going to get an assignment fee for bringing the two together, totally legal and legitimate. You just want to make sure they're comfortable with that, okay? So if you explain it this way, very simple. Don't say, do you do double closings? Because that's an adversarial question. They're trained to say no and get out of here. If you ask it this way, you'll have a much higher likelihood of being able to get a favorable response, okay? Take that for what it's worth. Now, let's move on to the next part, which is very important, which is land trusts. You want to ask this question. Are you familiar with land trusts, a form of grantor revocable trust? Okay, those are the key words right there that a lot of attorneys will understand. Grantor revocable trust. Okay, that's just what a land trust is. It's a grantor revocable trust. It's one of those forms. All right, so you want to ask that question. If they say sure, ask them what they know about them, and let them know, I'd like to take title to the properties I close with you in a land trust. If I work with you to make sure we get it legally correct the way I like it, is that something we can do together? And again, obviously you're probing for flexibility here. All right. Now, if they say no, or they insist that you should just take title to properties in the LLC because that's how everybody does it, and they won't come off of that, you may just want to consider thanking them for their time and getting off the phone because they're probably not your huckleberry. But again, if you ask them this way, chances are you're going to get a favorable response. Okay? It's very important. All right, let's move on. Here's some tips for you. Remember, even though they may have knowledge of the law and some experience with things, or maybe a lot of experience with things, chances are that they're just not familiar with exactly how we like to do business, so some of our tactics may be new to them. Okay? You just need to have some patience and remember that they are working for you. Their job is to know the law and make sure that you know your options so that you can mitigate or minimize any risk. All right? Your job is to know investing and to push the envelope with things and make sure that you're doing it without breaking the law. Once you truly know what you're doing in this business, you're going to be a very powerful force who can go toe-to-toe with most any attorney or title company and hold your own. Start now by knowing what you want and don't back down. Listen to their good counsel, okay? But know what your objectives are, okay? And let's wrap up this section here. If you like them, here's what you want to do. You want to say something along the lines of, okay, I like what you're saying, and it sounds like we might be able to do business together. May I assume that our next step would be for me to contact you when I have a deal? And who would be my main contact there at your company or your office? Okay? They should give you that information, write it down. You're good to go. If you don't like them, just let them know. Well, it sounds like we're not going to be a good fit for each other this time. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today, and take care. Okay? If they're just not a good fit and you feel that, then don't waste either of your time. Be respectful, politely get off the phone, call the next one on your list. Okay? Those are the questions you want to ask. I try to cover it as simply and succinctly as possible. This is for when you are buying houses, obviously. Okay, so all these things we talk about when you're buying houses, we want to make sure that we're good to go there. Now, obviously, we were going to be selling houses as well, so here's a surprise bonus. And here's a simple list of questions to ask for when you're selling your properties on lease purchase or owner financing to a tenant buyer. Okay? Now, it's important that you just break this down very simply, all right? So start the call the same way as the other, or you can simply continue. If you have the right attorney up here for buying houses, you may just want to simply continue by asking this questions here, going all along. Now, let me ask you this. You say, Mr. Attorney, I intend to either sell my properties with owner financing to people by either creating a note and possibly selling on agreement for deed arrangement. Are you comfortable with that? Hopefully they will be, okay? You can also let them know, I also intend to lease my properties to tenant buyers, people who have some down payment money that's to be used as non-refundable option consideration, and they'll sign a lease to rent until they're able to close on the house with their own financing. In other words, lease purchase the house out to them. I'd like to come in to have a simple closing with you here at your office, where you'll have all the paperwork prepared and just have someone sit down with them to go over that paperwork, collect and disperse the funds, and get them to sign everything. This should only take a few minutes to prepare and do, and should go very smoothly. Naturally, you'll get paid for this, but I'd like it to happen here at your office for credibility, etc. I'll provide all the paperwork and instructions to help you or your staff with this, and after we do it the first time, it will be a very easy and templated system. Will that work for you? All right? If you explain it like this, I can almost promise you they should be good with it. Okay? If they're not comfortable with it because you don't explain it this way, they're going to just tell you something like, well, you should just close it yourself. Just sit down with them and get them to sign a lease with you. You don't need me for that. And while if you're just renting a property out, that would probably be something that a lot of people are comfortable with. However, due to the fact that you are going to be collecting good chunks of cash, $5, $10, $15, $20 plus $1,000, okay, you want to make sure that you have an attorney with the credibility, with an office and a staff and all that stuff collect this for you, so that the chances of you getting sued and having to be put in a very uncomfortable position or made believe that you have to give that non-refundable option consideration funds back, you don't. The paperwork says this. It's just another super extra layer of protection to have an attorney sit down with them to handle this paperwork. Okay? That's why you want to do this. All right? Very important. Very important. I could tell you personal horror stories, but I don't want to bore you with the details. Just trust me on this. Have a professional title company attorney with a staff and a proper office collect this stuff for you, notarize all the stuff that you need. Okay? Now, that is pretty much it for this lesson today. I sincerely hope that you have enjoyed this. I will put a link to this mind map so that you can refer to this at your own leisure. The place where it is called MindMeister. You may need to create a free account there using the link in order to get access to this mind map if you want it. And that is pretty much it. Okay, so I hope that you've enjoyed this. Put this to use. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Again, this is Tony Pearl, and I'll be talking to you soon.